you were in the wrong place. Happy Halloween! Here we are for Music Minute. It really is Epiphany Lutheran Church in Richmond, Virginia. I'm Kevin Barger, the Director of Music Ministries, and we thought we'd have a little fun since it was Halloween and give you a little bit of something extra. Of course, most of you would recognize that as Toccata and Fugue by Johann Sebastian Bach, and that was just the prelude portion of it, just for a little fun, because why not? It's Halloween. So, lest you be disappointed, we will move on to the hymns for tomorrow. Since it is All Hallows Eve, we will have All Saints Day tomorrow, and so that is, often it doesn't happen that it's on November 1st on a Sunday, but it will be for this time. So our hymns for tomorrow, our gathering hymn, is Sing with All the Saints in Glory, and this was actually written as an Easter hymn. It shows up in the ELW as in the Saints section, so that's where we sing it now. William Bradley Roberts actually wrote this, and he wrote it for an Episcopal convention of sorts, and that convention took place in Jackson, Mississippi. So the tune that was written, which is a wonderful tune, is called Mississippi, named for that convention place where it was. So we've sung this a lot at Epiphany. A lot of people are not as familiar with it, but it's a great tune. I'm actually going to do it on the piano tonight so that you can hear it a little bit differently than you'll hear it online in worship tomorrow with the organ, which is a little bit bigger, kind of like last week with Reformation, where we do some things a little bit opposite of what you might expect. So I'm going to head over to the piano here. Lots of pages that are flying around here. So this is Sing with All the Saints in Glory. So very stately. If you've never been to Jackson, Mississippi, it is a very stately town, city, very grid pattern-like, but the buildings and the government buildings, the courthouse, they're all very grand and like you would think of in the Deep South. So I just think that really fits that. All right, so our next hymn of the day will be For All the Saints. And I know here at Epiphany, our parishioners love to sing this. This is one of their favorites for sure. And we sing it with gusto all the time. What we don't realize, though, is that sometimes this is a tricky hymn. It's 7 verses, and not all the syllables line up at the same place in every verse. So oftentimes we end up singing them in the wrong place. But you know what? It's such a great hymn, it doesn't matter. We sing it with gusto anyway, and it goes right on. So this is a Ralph Vaughan Williams piece from Oxford, and the tune name is actually Sine Nomine, which means without a name. And this really climaxes, if you will, at the end with the refrain, the Alleluias that just sing out, and it is just so wonderfully written as we remember all those saints near and dear to our hearts, here present, and those who have gone before us. So again, if you would like the big, bombastic organ version of this, tune in tomorrow for online worship. You'll get plenty of it there. This is going to be a more subdued version on the piano, and I hope you enjoy this version of For All the Saints. So, of course, very popular at funerals or memorials, as I'm sure you know. And last but not least, the sending hymn for tomorrow is Shall We Gather at the River? And this was actually written in 1864, and for those history buffs among you, since we have an election coming up this week, that was actually the year that Abraham Lincoln was elected for his second term. So the interesting piece of this is, and we don't know if this is true for sure, oftentimes you hear about how a hymn was written, how it came to be, and is it really true or not? But one of the stories that goes with this, which I think is fascinating given where we are right now, in an election year, of course, but also some say this was written, Shall We Gather at the River, was written in response to an epidemic at the time. The writer never confirmed that. He never mentions an epidemic in there, so we're not quite sure if it's true, but there were some minor little things that were kind of going on in there. But how interesting, as we are in the middle of a pandemic now, that this might have had some origin with an epidemic behind it. The tomb name is Hanson Place, and that was named for Hanson Place Baptist Church in Brooklyn, so bringing it back over and up to New York. And the composer described it as brass band music, and so that probably gives you that very March-like sense, and that's why a lot of folks like it, and it really speaks to them. So you'll hear a good bit of that tomorrow, the very March, deliberate tomorrow in worship. Today I'm going to give you actually two versions of this. The first is on piano, and that's a little more subdued, building to something kind of big and then back off as you just kind of really imagine the river flowing. And of course we were talking about, river of life and the river of the waters of baptism. And then as we move to the organ, it's just a very calming way to conclude our evening time together. So hope you enjoy both versions of Shall We Gather at the River. Aren't there rich, wonderful chords in there? So it's kind of nice to hear that. So let's go hear more of the flowing river, which after the hurricane this week and the big storms, it's probably a little more gushing than what we'll hear here, but we'll set some imagery anyway. So moving back to the organ to finish up. Just very calming. So thanks again for joining me this evening for a little bit of music history, a little bit of music fun, and a little bit of learning about our hymns for tomorrow. If you are joining us tomorrow, know that we are here on Facebook and YouTube at 10:30. And if you would like to come to in-person worship, again, make sure that you sign up before you come. That will be at 10 o'clock here in the sanctuary. And there is capability for you to use FM transmission in the parking lot as well if you'd like to do that. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you next week.